Good evening and welcome to the regular RTM meeting on January 28th, 2019. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Steve Chesaray.
Here.
David Fogel.
Here.
Nancy Lefkowitz. Here. Keith Varian. Bill Gerber.
Here.
Aaron Lopez. Here. Eric Newman.
Here.
Cindy Perham. Here. Heather Dean.
Present.
Alex Durrell.
Here.
Matt Jacobs.
Here.
Sharon Pastilli.
Here.
Alice Kelly.
Here.
Frank O'Reilly. Phil Pierce.
Here.
Marcy Spolier.
Here.
Josh Garskoff.
Here.
Joe Siebert.
Here.
Ruth Smay.
Here.
Jay Wolk.
Here.
Matt Ambrose. Steve Barretts.
Here.
Hannah Gale.
Here.
Lisa Havey.
Present.
Lauren Bove.
Here.
Mark McDermott.
Here.
Jill Vergara.
Here.
Karen Wackerman.
Here.
Carrie Burcham.
Here.
Pamela Iacono.
Here.
Christine Messina.
Here.
Peter Tallman.
Here.
Brian Farnan. Drew Georgiadis.
Here.
Dorian Herron.
Here.
Margaret Horton.
Here.
Sam Cargill.
Here.
Michael Hurley.
Here.
Frank Patisse.
Here.
Eric Sunman.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 2 on our agenda is to hear an address on the state of the town by the First Selectman. Mr. Tetro.
All right, good evening. Thank you, Mr. Moderator, members of the Board of Selectmen, members of our Board of Finance, members of the Board of Education, the School Administration, and members of our representative town meeting, our state delegation, and other elected officials and members of the public for the opportunity to update the town. Let's start with one very important announcement. The main branch of the public library opens tomorrow morning. I do want to give some special thanks to the fire and the police personnel who were on the job at 3 a.m. one very cold Thanksgiving morning to limit the damage and begin the cleanup. We've also recently heard that Dr. Jones will be leaving us at the end of the school year. And I'd like to thank her for her contribution to our community and our schools, and we want to wish her well in our new school district. Fairfield is a special place and a very special community. We don't ever want to take our town for granted or the quality of life for granted. We need to remain vigilant and continuously look for opportunities for improvement. Let's take a look at a few comparisons and what other people have been saying about our town. Fairfield was given an A+ on the 2018 Niche Report Card of Best Places to Live in the state of Connecticut. This grading took into account quality of schools, crime rates, housing trends, employment stats, and access to amenities. Fairfield is ranked number 1 as the most business-friendly town in Connecticut. The Yankee Institute stated, Fairfield's economic vitality and transportation infrastructure push it to number 1 on our list. They went on to further state, our aim is to bring a new statewide focus to the potentially positive power of local decision-making. This award is truly a team award that recognizes the efforts across all town departments and the commitment by all of our town managers and employees to make our town more business-friendly. Our Economic Development Director, Mark Barnhart, pointed out recently that on average, we had 1 ribbon cutting a week for the past year, welcoming new businesses to town. This is a measure of economic vitality that easily outdistances any other town in the state. It should be noted that a significant number of our businesses are now women-owned. And this growth in women leaders is also reflected in the makeup of our RTM, which now, with women making up 45% of our elected members, the highest in the history of Fairfield. Fairfield earned top honors as a Sustainable Connecticut community. We were one of only 5 towns to receive the Silver Award, and we're the town with the highest score, making us number 1 in the state in sustainability. A big thank you to the volunteers on our Sustainable Fairfield Task Force, led by Fairfielder of the Year, Mary Hogue and Bob Wall. This is another team award for our town employees because it's a comprehensive measure of the efforts by so many of our town departments to qualify for this. Fairfield was named a top safe community. SafeWise published its report on the safest communities in Connecticut and ranked Fairfield in the top 20. We really need to thank our dedicated public safety teams, police, fire, and emergency communications for all they do to keep us safe every day. In addition, Fairfield was ranked 11 among the top 50 safest college towns in America. Fairfield is one of 6 towns to repeat this year. We know that this has special meaning for Fairfield University and for Sacred Heart University. This report states Fairfield, which is considered one of the Northeast's top communities, is a safe college town that offers a high quality of life, abundant outdoor recreation, and a stellar safety record. Fairfield has a population of 61,000 residents, which makes its low crime rate even more impressive. Another big thanks to our police officers, as well as the security teams at both Sacred Heart and Fairfield U. This would be an appropriate time to congratulate Chief Chris Liddy, newly promoted Chief of Police. Obviously undercover is the only police officer back there not in uniform. Fairfield American Little League won the state championship for the 3rd year in a row. This continues a strong culture of success for both Fairfield American and Fairfield National. These young men not only display winning ways on the field, but also off the field. They make our town proud with how they handle themselves both in victory and in defeat. They're a great example for all of us. A big thank you to the league, volunteers, and coaches that provide this opportunity to our young athletes. The Fairfield Little League girls softball team also had a strong tradition of success, including this year's unprecedented achievements. 4 teams were district champions. The juniors made it 4 consecutive years that they have competed in the state championship game. The 10U team lost in the playoffs to the eventual state champion. The 11U team brought the state championship back home to Fairfield. The 12U team won the state championship and went on to compete in the Eastern Regionals before their season came to an end. What an amazing year. And again, a very special thank you to the volunteers and coaches that make this experience possible for our young athletes. The American Institute of Architects bestowed on Pequot Library the 2018 Connecticut Treasures Award. Pequot was voted the top architectural treasure in this statewide People's Choice competition, based on its iconic Romanesque revival design. Southport has been the home of Pequot Library for over 100 years, and now the rest of the state is discovering just how special a treasure it is. Our town clerk, Betsy Brown, was nationally recognized, receiving an E-Recording Catalyst Award. This award is in recognition of achieving faster turnaround time and higher service levels through the use of technology. Fairfield's Water Pollution Control Authority won the 2018 New England Water Environment Association Energy Management Achievement Award. This award recognizes the progress our team is making in reducing the amount of energy used per unit of water treated. In addition, John Bodie, Assistant Superintendent, was selected as the 2018 Operator of the Year for the state of Connecticut. Congratulations to John and the entire team down at the Water Pollution Control Facility. These are just a few of the achievements that should make us all proud of our town. Fairfield's top quality education has always been a source of great pride for our town. We really need to recognize the leadership of our Superintendent, Dr. Jones, our Board of Education, and the dedication of our teachers, administrators, and staff. If you talk to realtors, you'll hear that the quality of our school system is the #1 reason homebuyers choose to move to Fairfield. We spend about 65% of our annual budget on the school system, or about 65 cents out of every tax dollar. This is a very real measure of the value we place on education. Our Board of Education points out the value of the comprehensive education that we provide. I know from personal experience at Holland Hill, Tomlinson, and then Ludlow what a great foundation we provide and the opportunities our education system creates. It enabled me to be accepted in one of the top universities in the nation. I'm still quoting critical learning experiences from high school, and I know that the lasting impact that every one of my elementary school teachers made. Miss Maritoli, Miss Bushnell, Miss Bayusik, Mrs. Chambers, Miss Bernier, Miss Shannon, and Miss Walco. Thank you. That's all from Holland Hill, guys. Let's look at some of the achievements of our schools and students from just this past year. I had to limit this to a select list of academic, athletic, and artistic state and national level awards. Starting with Fairfield Woods Middle School, 8th grader Lily Bolash placed first in the state in the Connecticut History Day competition, qualifying for a trip to nationals. Oh yes, a fellow alum. Holland Hill student Christian Santa portrayed his Legos expertise, or parlayed his Legos expertise, into membership in the Legoland creative crew. And Ward boys lacrosse player Ted Orban and Ludlow boys lacrosse player Josh Evans received academic All-American recognition. The Fairfield girls co-op ski team finished first, and the boys co-op ski team finished second in state competition. The Ward girls lacrosse, Libby McKenna, received the U.S. Lacrosse High School All-American recognition. Ludlow Indoor Track and Field's Tess Stapleton won the 55-meter hurdles at the State Open, helping her team to finish 6th overall. The Ludlow boys track and field team placed 8th in the state, thanks to Jan Ian Bartlett's first-place finish in the 800-meter competition. Ludlow girls track and field team placed 7th in the state on the strength of Maya Makarski's first-place finish in the 100-meter competition. The Fairfield Ludlow High School cheerleading team took top prize in the AmeriCheer International Championships down in Florida, and Ward Sean Conway was named to the All-USA Connecticut boys basketball team. The Fairfield Public Schools music program was recognized by the NAM Foundation for their excellence as one of the best communities for music education in the nation. Stratfield Elementary School student Sydney McKiernan placed 3rd at the National PTA Reflections Competition. And if you haven't had a chance to go to the Reflections Competition here that displays art, music, dance, amazingly creative juices flowing from our kids, the amount of training they get, it's just phenomenal. And I'd encourage you all to stay tuned for that when it comes and take a chance and go down and look at it. It's a phenomenal evening. The Ward and Ludlow music programs announced that a combined total of 34 students have been accepted to the Music Educators Association's All-State Festival. The Ward dance team finished 10th in the nation. And one of my favorites, students from Riverfield Elementary and Bridgeport Cesar Battaglia School are competing and bonding over the playing of chess. If I'd had some friends to play chess with, I might actually know the game today. Art students from Ward and Ludlow produced such a professional level of work that their art now hangs in the downtown railroad station, Sullivan Independence Hall, and seasonally in banners that adorn our post road. So please take time to look at it. These kids did a phenomenal job. It's really well done, and it's a great way to welcome our visitors to our town. This is a broad range of excellence and activities in addition to the stellar academics that our school system provides. A special thank you to Board of Ed member Jessica Gerber for continually updating us on these and many more achievements. Fairfield University has a growing national reputation. It was recently ranked as the #1 best regional university in the North by U.S. News and World Report's Best Colleges Report. The Dolan School of Business will soon include simulated trading in a dynamic and interactive learning environment, a business analytics lab, and an entrepreneurship center, and much more. The university also has a growing impact on our town, from the Fairfield Center bookstore to the cultural events at the Quick Center and the Fairfield University Museum at Bellarmine Hall. In addition, the university continues to work with the town and neighbors to help integrate and manage the impact on our neighborhoods of off-campus student housing. They've contributed innovative ideas, staff, and funding to improve these relationships. They're demonstrating a real commitment to working with us to maintain the quality of life for these neighborhoods. Sacred Heart University is working to redefine its relationship with the town. We're beginning to have a true partnership across a series of important initiatives. Sacred Heart University has become an important and stable partner, adding to the real value in our town. Sacred Heart has plans to add a new swimming pool and a new ice rink facility on the recently purchased West Campus site. These projects would add significant new amenities to our town. Both these projects are just beginning to go through the Town Commission approval process. The university is stating these resources will be available for resident and school team use. Our town is looking for a new home for our Emergency Communication Center, and Sacred Heart has offered the use of a facility on their campus rent-free. With rising sea levels, it's time we move our call center out of the basement in a flood zone. Wasn't quite sure when we put it there, but as we expand and update our sewage lines throughout our town, we need a pumping station up near Sacred Heart. This will help us serve the university expansion and the surrounding neighborhoods. The university has offered to invest $1 million towards this $2 million project to ensure it moves forward on a timely basis. Sacred Heart is bringing an innovative business incubator program to campus in a joint venture with Verizon and Ally. This will provide a very significant educational opportunity for their students. It'll also be a key initiative in helping provide new business growth and new jobs to our town. This is another important step in helping us grow our commercial tax base. Fairfield has a strong financial foundation. We continue to properly fund our long-term liabilities like pension and OPEB. We are one of only 4 towns in the state with AAA ratings from the nation's top 3 credit rating agencies. Some key descriptions from our most recent credit report are as follows. Very strong management from S&P. History of strong operating performance from Moody's. The bond ratings reflect expectations for Fairfield to maintain healthy financial flexibility throughout economic cycles, consistent with a strong operating performance and budget controls from Fitch. Careful expenditure management combined with moderate tax rate increases and conservative financial forecasting has led to growth in reserves from Fitch and strong budgetary flexibility and a very strong debt and contingent liability position from S&P. Our Chief Fiscal Officer, Bob Mayer, pointed out that S&P upgraded the town's financial management assessment to the highest score S&P gives. Only 1/3 of the AAA-rated towns in Connecticut have S&P's highest FMA rating. Special thank you to our entire finance team for their work in helping us earn that recognition. In the midst of a very turbulent economy and decreasing support from the state, we've averaged a tax increase of just about 2% a year for the past 5 years. Rating agencies have called this moderate, and Fairfield's Board of Finance has labeled these increases as reasonable. We've kept our mill rate to one of the lowest in Fairfield County. By maintaining tight control over our expenses, we've also achieved one of the lowest cost of services per capita in Fairfield County. This is one of the best overall measures of town workforce productivity. One approach to managing our costs is to join with other towns. We have a number of shared service initiatives underway to lower costs and improve service levels. Let's review a few of them. We have joined with 11 other towns to form a cooperative venture to lower our costs for solid waste removal. We are saving several $100,000 every year. We've joined forces with many of the same towns to lower our costs for recycling. Just 2 years ago, we were being paid for our recyclables. With changes overseas, we are now paying to remove these products. This collaboration means we get the best pricing in a very volatile market. We are evaluating combining our emergency call center with Westport. Both centers would move to the Sacred Heart campus. In the long run, this would reduce costs and improve service levels. We're working with Bridgeport and Trumbull to mitigate the impact of Rooster River flooding. Recent events have caused damage to homes and raised significant concern among our residents. We're working with our neighboring towns to develop plans and to seek funding to protect our neighborhoods. We're working with MetroCog to update our town hazard mitigation plan. MetroCog is a regional planning organization comprised of Fairfield, Bridgeport, Stratford, Trumbull, Easton, and Monroe. This plan addresses actions to mitigate flooding along our coast and along our rivers. This also helps us qualify for the community rating system, providing discounts on flood insurance to our residents. Our economic development efforts have expanded as we work with the Fairfield Five: Greenwich, Stamford, Norwalk, Westport, and Fairfield. We are joining together to use our combined economic development resources to market our towns and Fairfield County to businesses currently located in or considering moving to the tri-state area. If your business is in New York City or Westchester or northern New Jersey, Fairfield County has lower costs and a higher quality of life. There may be other areas we can collaborate together in the future with these towns. We look at grants. We look to use state and federal grants whenever possible to fund capital projects. This directly saves us tax dollars. There's a list here of some significant awards from the past few years. In flood mitigation, on Riverside Drive and Pine Creek dike evaluation, in security for the port security and body cameras for our police for over $700,000. In economic development for Fairfield Center streetscapes, Burr Homestead, Fairfield Center drainage improvements, Metro Center sewer line replacement, the Stratfield Center streetscape improvements for $650,000, and the timing couldn't be better. A new private preschool was just announced to be developed on the site of the old Stratfield Market. The Black Rock Turnpike Safety Study, the Southport Community Connectivity Grant, and Post Road Safety Study, and the Metro Center Transit-Oriented Planning. If you look at the last few, we've got about $1.5 million focused on improving pedestrian access as well as traffic congestion throughout our town. Fairfield Theater Company renovations to the tune of $950,000, and Southport Harbor improvements. This will include channel dredging and boat ramp reconstruction. Moving on. Connecticut towns are more dependent on property tax revenue to fund our operations than towns in any other state in the nation. While Fairfield has one of the lower mill rates in Fairfield County and one of the lowest costs of services per capita, there's more that we can do. We need to grow our commercial tax base. We need to grow our grand list. Only 4.5% of our land area is zoned commercial. Yet this land generates 10% of our tax revenues. A 1% increase in our commercial zoned land will decrease the regional tax burden by 2%. We need to look to our Town Plan and Zoning Commission to build this commercial growth into our plan of conservation and development. This plan can guide us to where development is most beneficial while protecting our neighborhoods, our downtown, Southport Village, and our historic areas. Target areas may include the Fairfield Metro Center, our old industrial areas, and Commerce Drive. The options are clear. We either grow our commercial tax base or watch our mill rate increase. The plan of conservation and development will help us protect our town's character and charm while increasing value and improving affordability. Bridgeport recently received $7 million to provide needed updates to Sikorsky Airport. Due to recent advances in aircraft technology, new planes coming off the production lines will make commercial flights viable at Sikorsky. These planes can operate off Sikorsky's runways and have range to reach Florida, Texas, or Illinois. This provides a very significant new asset for Fairfield County businesses. The Fairfield Five is teaming up to build on these positives to market the benefits of our towns and Fairfield County. When you take a close look at Fairfield County, here's what you're going to find. Fairfield County is the only county in Connecticut that has grown in population for the last 5 years. Fairfield County has a net gain in population from New York City and from Westchester County. Fairfield County has 25% of the jobs in Connecticut, 30% of all Connecticut employers, and generates 42% of all Connecticut income tax revenues. A recent study by Fitch Ratings talks about the strong underlying economic trends that will support growth in Fairfield County. It goes on to say that Fairfield County's low property taxes relative to New York City is another draw, and that a growing number of millennials are fleeing the big cities in search of the traditional American dream of home ownership in the suburbs. Fairfield County offers good schools, upscale shopping, and a lower cost of living compared to New York City. Joseph Fontana, lead analyst for Fitch, says that Fairfield County often represents a flight to affordability for companies looking to escape the high rents of New York City. Jim Fagan of Cushman & Wakefield sees companies following their talented millennial workers out to the suburbs and taking space in office buildings throughout Fairfield County, particularly along major transportation lines. These are some of the trends that show why our town and our county are such a great value. For next steps, the Strategic Planning Committee is currently, or the strategic plan is currently being developed, and will help provide the guidance for our community on how to grow and maintain, and grow Fairfield's value. A special thank you to the Strategic Plan Committee for their comprehensive efforts to engage our entire community in the plan. The federal government has a new tax plan. We'll see and feel the impact of this in less than 90 days. The severe limitations on state and local tax deductions seem to be targeted at residents in Connecticut. The impact of these changes will be hitting us right in the middle of our budget approval process. The state has a new governor and some new representation in the legislature. We are cautiously optimistic about how they will work together to solve the state's fiscal challenges. The new governor did commit not to make reductions in municipal aid, and this is a very good sign. As we've seen in the past with proposals to cut ECS funding or to transfer state pension costs to the towns, we'll need to stand ready to fight for Fairfield's future. We will need the help from our federal and from our state delegation in the weeks and months ahead. One topic that will be the center of discussion throughout the entire budget process this coming year will be the Board of Ed's request for a 5% increase. This is a 5% increase in the largest expense driver on our budget. This request comes at a time when we're still missing millions of dollars due to recent reductions in state aid and tax revenue. It's the highest request in over a decade. In fact, it is more than double the average increase over the past 10 years. I know it's going to be a struggle for all of our boards on how to integrate this into a budget with a regional tax increase. The major takeaway from tonight should be, even though there are some significant challenges, we have a strong foundation to build on. We have accomplished a great deal despite these challenges. We all came to Fairfield and stayed here for great schools, a great quality life, and a great location with easy access to local and regional amenities. These are the same reasons that still create value in Fairfield today. John Traynor is a Senior Vice President at People's United Bank and a recent speaker at the Chamber of Commerce's Economic Outlook Breakfast. He's a source of valuable insights on national, regional, and local economy. In last year's presentation, he referred to Fairfield as the model for how Connecticut towns should manage in this economy. This year, he shared with us how often he talks about Fairfield in his presentations throughout the Northeast and how he's now referring to Fairfield County as the engine that drives the Connecticut economy. Moving forward, we're all going to have to work together to continue to build Fairfield's value and keep Fairfield affordable for all. Thank you for taking time to listen tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Tetreault. We now get to item 3 on the agenda, to receive a report from the First Selectman or his designee on leases of town properties. We heard this report in committee and there was no follow-up. Item number 4, to receive a report from the First Selectman or his designee on Chapter 61-1 of the Town Code of the Town of Fairfield, recovery of costs related to properties with chronic breaches of the peace, public disturbances, and disorderly conduct. We also heard that report in committee and there was no follow-up. Item number 5, to hear a report from the Blight Officer concerning condemnation and blight. We received that report in committee as well. Item number 6, to consider and act upon the minutes of the regular meeting held on December 17th, 2018. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Representative Dean, seconded by Representative Durrell. Is there any discussion on this item? Representative Iacono.
Pam Iacono, District 8. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I have the following correction to the minutes, which I submitted to the clerk, but for the record, I'd like to make the following amendments. It should read Pamela Iacono, District 8, not District 7. And where the discussion starts on Smith-Richardson, I have the following changes. And I did go back and watch the Fair TV tape to make sure I got it correct. Ms. Iacono stated that she would like to see the building committee have a serious conversation about what she called window dressing in the building, an octagon-shaped pro shop, a timber beam ceiling, full masonry chimney, etc. She stated that her caucus is seriously concerned about the size of the building in relation to return on investment and whether the projected revenue numbers presented by the committee support the size.
Thank you. Is there a second for the motion to amend the minutes? Seconded by Representative Hurley. Any discussion on the motion to amend the minutes from the body? Seeing none, any discussion on the motion to amend the minutes from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to amend the minutes as stated by Representative Iacono, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. So the item now before the body is the minutes as amended by Representative Iacono's motion. Is there any discussion on that motion? Representative Vergara.
I also have a motion to amend.
Okay. You can
Jill Vergara, District 7. I also have a motion to amend the minutes in the section in which the discussion of the senior and disabled tax relief begins. I wanted to change the amount of $79,000 to $90,000. I'd also like to change the amount listing approximately $4 million to $4.2 million. The next sentence after that should read, "This cap is necessary so that current participants in the this cap is necessary so that costs do not greatly exceed the estimates." I'd also like to amend one of the names for the public comment. It should be Jerry Stuhlman.
Is there a second for Representative Vergara's motion to amend the minutes, seconded by Representative Hurley? Any discussion on Representative Vergara's motion to amend the minutes from the body? Seeing none, any discussion from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor of Representative Vergara's motion as stated to amend the minutes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so the motion now before the body are the minutes from our regular meeting held on December 17th, 2018, as amended by Representative Iacono and Representative Vergara. Is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, is there any comment from the public? Seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Item 7, to consider and act upon the following resolution as recommended by the Board of Finance. Whereas it is in the best interest of the Town of Fairfield Water Pollution Control Authority to upgrade the Easton Turnpike Pump Station and Force Main in the Town of Fairfield, and whereas the cost to design said upgrade is $199,730, and whereas the WPCA appropriated and agreed to spend its own funds in the amount of $199,730 to pay said design costs, now therefore be it resolved that the First Selectman of the Town of Fairfield is hereby authorized to expend in the name of and on behalf of the WPCA up to $199,730 to fund said design costs, and further resolved that the First Selectman of the Town of Fairfield is authorized to enter into and sign contracts on behalf of the WPCA for purposes of completing the design work. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Representative Garskoff, seconded by Representative Dean. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, is there any public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Item 8, to consider and act upon the following resolution as recommended by the Board of Finance. Resolved that the bond resolution entitled "A Resolution Appropriating $7,020,000 for costs associated with the construction of a new clubhouse, renovation of existing golf cart barn, and for other site and grounds improvements at H. Smith Richardson Golf Course, and authorizing the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation be and hereby is approved." Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Representative Wackerman, seconded by Representative Dean. Is there any discussion on this item? Representative Tallman.
Working now? Hi, Peter Tallman, District 8. A couple of things on this, because I've probably spent more time on this asking people around town their thoughts. It's a lot of money, and it seems everyone was kind of in agreement with we were expecting a basic fundamental building for a public golf course. And what we got was just short of the Taj Mahal. And then we started taking bits and pieces away from the Taj Mahal to make it more affordable. And we're still at $7 million plus the 300 that we're putting onto paving for the DPW. I know we have to do something. We've waited long enough. The building needs to be knocked down. I'm afraid this $7 million could escalate even more. I'm hoping it's not. But I've talked to a lot of people, many golfers, and I'm finding it very difficult to find many that are 100% behind this. So if not for this one, at least for the next few that come up. I know Mr. Tetro unofficially put me in charge of finding builders for building committee, so I'm still working on that. And by the way, I had Mrs. Maritole also, a few years after you, but I did have her. Anyway, I just wanted to bring it to your attention. That's what I've heard around town. We have to keep our pencils sharp. You know what we're getting hit with, the Board of Ed, and probably a few other things beyond that. But I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion from our members? Representative Wackerman.
Karen Wackerman, District 7. I just wanted to speak for almost all of the members of our caucus that we are overwhelmingly in support of this. It's a big nut, but the building has been, it's 50 years old. It hasn't been maintained as it should have been. And this is an investment in our town. The golf course is beautiful, and we need a proper clubhouse for it. So most of us, I think, see it as an investment that we'll be finished paying it in 20 years, and then we'll still have probably another 20 or 30 years to enjoy it. So that's our position. Thanks.
Further discussion? Representative Lopez.
Hi, Erin Lopez, District 2. I do support this clubhouse, but I think I'd be much more comfortable voting for this if we were bonding the full amount of the project. I think it's financially short-sighted of us to add $280,000 to the DPW budget instead of bonding it when the DPW budget has been cut repeatedly over the last few years, and to add this amount of money when we're already kind of looking at the budget for this year, I think is short-sighted. I think it would have much less of an impact on the mill rate if we were bonding the full amount. And I hope that members of the town bodies will remember this during the budget season when we're trying to balance the tax increase and spending money, because we are adding this as a line item to a budget that we've consistently cut over the last few years.
Further discussion? Representative Hurley.
Hurley, RTM District 10. I don't support this expenditure. I disagree with the rationale of the RTM Majority Leader for two reasons. Number one, projections. I think they're just too bullish. We've seen in town, as it relates to Penfield Pavilion, some very bullish projections as well, which haven't materialized. And I'm also a member of the Senior Tax Relief Committee. And we had I believe it was a special meeting in early December where the cap was lowered. And the cap on senior tax relief was lowered because of the potential cost of the program. So if we can't have an increase to senior tax relief, and there's a whole variety of reasons, what we're going to talk about as the next item, and I don't agree with the projections, I would just encourage people to, really think deeply before they support this project. Thank you.
Further discussion from our members? Representative Pristilli.
Sharon Pristilli. Yeah, okay, District 3, sorry. I'm voting in favor of the building of at H. Smith Richardson Golf Course. You know, the building as it stands right now is terribly outdated, and replacing it is unfortunately long overdue and necessary. And it's just turned into a situation where this has been a can that's been kicked down the road and kicked down the road. And when we, you know, neglect to maintain a building, then unfortunately there comes a point where it needs to be replaced. And I personally view this as an asset to the town. It makes the town more desirable. And you know, we've talked about you know, the economic development in the town and how important it is that we have amenities. And so this is an amenity that will be used by golfers and non-golfers alike, especially, you know, when we're adding banquet facilities. And I did also wanted to thank the members of the building committee and the advisement of the golf commission, just because they've put in a ton of volunteer hours and tried to be very thoughtful about the project.
Further comments? Is that Representative Beauvais?
Don't get along with this microphone. Lauren Beauvais, District 7. And I just wanted to reiterate the work that has been going on. It's a lot of work, and the numbers and the decisions were not quickly made. A lot of work has been put into it. And if you have any questions, I'm sure they'd be happy to tell you about any of it. This project is overdue by decades. It has to happen. In my opinion, it's embarrassing right now how it is, and it's not working anymore. It's at the end of its life, plus 20 years, 30 years maybe. So it has to happen. To clarify, I believe removing the paving and putting it into the Department of Public Works was done because we don't typically bond paving. I'm not certain if that's correct or not, but I think maybe that's why it's out. And also, just to edify, it's not going to be an issue for Public Works in this coming budget. It's going to be the next one. And I think that is correct. Yeah, I'm getting nods from those that really know that that's correct. So again, it has to happen. It can't wait any longer. It's not safe, in my opinion. It definitely doesn't meet building codes, and it doesn't speak to the level of what this town is about. There's nothing like this in the town. Everything we do beautifully, within reason, within our budget. I don't think it's a Taj Mahal at all. I've worked in architecture, and this is definitely not a Taj Mahal. It's not even close. So it's in keeping with the quality of the rest of the town, frankly, and it has to get done. So I support it.
Further comments? Seeing none, we'll go to public comment. If anyone from the public wishes to comment on the item, which includes the building committee.
Greg Curley, Chairman of the Building Committee. You've heard from me enough over the last 11 months. I'm not going to end with closing arguments, but I do want to thank the Building Committee for all their efforts. Many people have thanked us over the last number of months, but the amount of hours that this committee put in has been way more than anybody expected, and the effort that was put in it has been a pleasure to be a part of. But I also want to thank this RTM body for all the time that you've given us to hear and listen and be open-minded. So thank you. Thank you to the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen along the way as well. I hope for your support. Thank you.
Any further members of the public wish to comment on the item? Seeing none, we'll come back to the RTM for further comments from the RTM members. Seeing none, we'll go to a vote, and we'll do a roll call vote.
Steve Chesaray? No. David Fogel?
Yes.
Nancy Lefkowitz? Yes. Phil Gerber?
Yes.
Aaron Lopez? Yes. Eric Newman?
Yes.
Cindy Perham? Yes. Heather Dean?
Yes.
Alex Durrell? Matt Jacobs? Sharon Pastilli? Alice Kelly? Phil Pierce?
Yes.
Marcy Spolier? Josh Garskoff? Joe Siebert? Ruth Smay? Jay Walk? Matt Ambrose? Steve Barretts? Hannah Gale? Lisa Havey? Lauren Bove? Mark McDermott? Jill Vergara? Karen Wackerman? Carrie Burcham? Pamela Iacono? Christine Messina? Pete Tellman? Drew Georgiadis? Doreen Herron? Margaret Horton? I'm sorry. Sam Cargill? Michael Hurley? Frank Batiste? Eric Sonman?
And the motion carries 29 yes, 8 no. Thank you to the building committee for your work. Next is item 9, to consider and act upon amendments to the Alarms Ordinance, Chapter 45 of the Town Code of the Town of Fairfield, sponsored by Nancy Lefkowitz, District 1, Phil Piers, District 4, Josh Garskoff, District 5, Ruth Smay, District 5, Lauren Bove, District 7, and Karen Wackerman, District 7. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Representative Dean, seconded by Representative Smay. Is there any discussion on this item? Representative Gale.
Hannah Gale, District 6. So I'm going to abstain on this, and my reason for that is because I understand that what my issue is really with the original ordinance, not with this amendment. And, you know, why do I care? And I care because I have been a teacher in a new school and didn't know where the alarm was. It was in the secret closet in the bathroom, and couldn't turn it off. And I've been a teacher at religious schools where there were issues with the alarms, where there was some phantom door that no one could figure out what was going on. And what my concern is if you are charging nonprofit institutions, even these small fees, that you're going to disincentivize someone from setting an alarm. And we live in, unfortunately, increasingly dangerous times. And God forbid, I mean, that's the only thing I can say, you cause some teacher or some sisterhood member to be afraid to set the alarm because they don't want to incur the fee, and then something happens. Someone slips in because there is not an alarm set. And that is my concern. It really means a lot to me because I've been in the shoes of that person trying to decide whether I would get in trouble if I set the alarm and I didn't know how to turn it off. So that's my concern. Thank you.
Further discussion? Representative Gerber?
Hello. Bill Gerber, District 2. Thank you so much, Deputy Chief Smith, for laying out a clear case for why this is needed and the costs associated with an unnecessary number of false alarms and the responses required for those. And I just, I also want to thank you for incorporating our comments. I think the original draft of this had an annual registration fee, and you kindly took that out at our request. But the one concern I think we voiced during or one of the concerns we voiced during our many meetings with you is that we were concerned that this be very simple and convenient for people to register and re-register each year. And I know Deputy Chief Smith said they're going to make it very simple. It's going to be an electronic form of registration, won't be too cumbersome. But I would like, through you to Deputy Chief Smith, to give you the opportunity to come up and sort of talk a little bit about the rollout, the timing of the rollout, and how you would envision the administration to work so that it's very simple for people.
Thank you. Thanks again for having me tonight. We've been going through the process for a while. So what we're looking at for implementation, it wouldn't occur until next fiscal year at this point because we need to build out the rollout and how we're going to make it as easy as we can for citizens to register the alarms and then the follow-up notification. Part of the plan to roll this out would be, of course, through social media, web presence, using the regular press, working, I know, with engineering. Part of if you get a new alarm system installed in a new home, you've got to get permits. So part of the permitting process would be to make sure they're notified of any registration requirements. The registration itself will be online. I've already been working with our web developer, so it'll be an online registration. Or if, for those that are not computer savvy, and there are still some these days, we would also have a paper version that you could fill out online, or fill out, send to the police department, a drop off, and we would input it into the system for you. So the intent is to make it as simple as possible. The other advantage by putting it off until this coming fiscal year is it gives us time to make sure that we publicized it and rolled it out. One of the other things that we would do for year one of this is the first time if you were to get hit with fail to register, we'd make it a warning for the first time. Understanding that it's new for the citizens, and the whole purpose is so that we can have the information. It's not supposed to necessarily be punitive, although down the road, if you're just not registering, it would roll into that. But we realize year one, there's going to be people that miss the notification for one reason or another, so we want to take that into consideration. So it will be a process to roll it out. Annual renewals we'll do through, for those that have email, it would be sending out a mass email to those that have registered to remind them of the annual registration. For those that don't, we'll have to use regular mail and put a letter in the mail to them to make sure that they are aware of the registration date, the fine for the failure to register, and encourage them to make sure that we're keeping that up-to-date information. So it's a work in progress for us, which is why we're saying it's not going to happen tomorrow. Even if you approve it tonight, it would be, the fiscal year starting, July. So that gives us time to really publicize, get all our stuff in a row to make sure everything's up and functional, to make it as easy as we can for, the residents that are going to sign up for it.
Further discussion? Representative Hurley.
Michael Hurley, RTM District 10. I fully support the ordinance, but I think it's worth just having a little bit of a clarification. I think our colleague from District 6 was talking about crime rates here in the town of Fairfield. And I think during the first selectman's address, he talked about what a safe community we live in. I think perhaps he said, we live in dangerous times. I've had the privilege of working very closely with the Fairfield Police Department on a number of crime initiatives, particularly as it relates to Southport. And since we do have the we do have the chief of police here, Moderator Pierce, through you, I do have a question for the chief of police as it relates to crime rates in the town of Fairfield. Just generally speaking, my understanding is that crime has come down pretty significantly in most categories in the town, except perhaps for car break-ins. And when even looking at car break-ins, they're still at a rate which is significantly lower than they were in the 1990s.
Chief Liddy.
Thank you, Mr. Hurley. Yes, you are correct. From 2017 to 2018, index crime was reduced by about 2% right now. But in this current fiscal year, we are seeing relief from the car break-ins that have traditionally happened. Now, I'm cautiously optimistic, though. It only takes one group coming back into our town and our numbers start to go up again. But right now, things are a little bit on the calm side.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Representative Vergara.
Jill Vergara, District 7. I wanted to amend 2 items of the ordinance, if possible. One is in the definitions. Under alarm systems, it begins an assembly of equipment and devices. The second sentence is excluded from this definition are smoke detectors. The following words I'd like to omit, which do not signal outside the alarmed premises. The reason why I'd like to omit this is we were told during committee that this wouldn't apply to smoke detectors at all, and it doesn't make any sense to me to put any sort of condition on this. I think that all smoke detectors should be excluded, whether or not they alarm within the premises or outside of the premises. I just want to be assured that anyone's smoke detectors will not be subject to these fines. The other amendment that I'd like to make is in the, Section 45-15 for the annual registration requirement. I'd like to drop the fine from $100 to $50. I think it's excessive to charge $100 for registration, for failure to register.
Okay. We're going to take each item separately. So the first motion is a motion to delete words from the definition of what it's alarm systems. So just for the record, that language is in the existing ordinance. But is there a second for the motion? Seconded by Representative Dean. So any discussion on the motion to delete those words from the Representative Garskoff?
Josh Garskoff, District 5. Just wanted to give Deputy Chief Smith a chance to comment on that if he'd like to. Through you, Mr. Moderator.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I'm reading through this as well, and it does specifically exempt, because at the end of the copy, unless I'm looking at a different version than you've got, it says does not include motor vehicle alarms, boat alarms, fire alarms, domestic violence alarms, or alarms designed to elicit a medical response. So fire alarms are already excluded from the definition of what would fall under the ordinance and what could be fined.
Representative Garskoff, you still have the floor.
I'll yield it.
Okay. Further discussion? Representative Vergara? I guess.
I agree with you. It's just that, so there's no reason why this should exist at all, which do not signal outside the alarmed premises.
That's a different version. Okay. That's actually a different version of what I'm looking at.
Oh.
So can I see that?
Sure. Because it does say down here.
Or in alarm systems which signal the presence of a fire. So yeah.
I know
don't
the
have a problem
intent
with
is,
that.
okay.
Yeah. Yep, I'm good.
You're good?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion on the amendment before the body, which is to delete the words referencing signaling to an outside source. Further discussion? Representative Lefkowitz?
Nancy Lefkowitz, District 1. Through you, Mr. Moderator, I would just like to understand what the police department's recommendation would be. Would they want us to take that language out or keep it in as it exists?
Deputy Chief Smith?
No, from our standpoint, it's fine if you want to remove that, because it does help clarify it in that case. So we're good with it.
Further discussion on the First Amendment? Seeing none. Before we vote, I'll repeat it. I don't want to repeat it every time if there's going to be more discussion. Is there further discussion on the amendment? We'll go to the public to see if there's any public comment. Seeing none, we'll come back to the body, and now I'll restate the motion, or I'll ask Representative Vergara to restate the motion, the first part of your motion. So if you want to come up and restate it.
Vergara, District 7. I'm asking that the definition of alarm systems in 45-2 read, an assembly of equipment and devices, or a single device, arranged to signal the presence of a hazard requiring urgent attention and to which police department personnel are expected to respond, period. Excluded from this definition are smoke detectors, and I'd like to omit the following words, which do not signal outside the alarmed premises. Those should be removed. Alarm systems on motor vehicles and boats and alarm systems which signal the presence of a fire remain.
Thank you. So that's the motion before the body. We'll do a voice vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Abstentions? Representative Herron abstained. The motion carries. We'll now move to the second motion to amend, which was to reduce the fines for failure to register from $100 to $50. Is there any discussion on this item, on this motion to amend? Seeing none, we'll go to the public. Is there any discussion from the public? Seeing none, back to the body. We'll take a voice vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Representative, okay. We've got Representative Gerber, Herron, Parham, Georgiadis, Lefkowitz, Lopez, Walk, Durrell, Patisse, Bove. We might have to do a roll call vote. You know what, we're going to do a roll call vote.
Steve Chesaray? Yes. Dave Fogel? No. Nancy Lefkowitz?
So yes means to amend the ordinance to reduce the fine from 100 to 50.
No. Bill Gerber? No. Aaron Lopez? No. Eric Newman? No. Cindy Perham? No. Heather Dean? Yes. Alex Durrell?
If you want the 100, the answer is no.
Matt Jacobs? No. Sharon Pastilli? No. Alice Kelly? Phil Pierce?
No.
Marcy Spollier? Yes. Josh Garskoff?
No.
Joe Siebert?
No.
Ruth Smay?
Yes.
Jay Walk?
No.
Matt Ambrose?
Yes.
Steve Barretts?
Yes.
Hannah Gale?
Yes.
Lisa Havey?
Yes.
Lauren Bove? No. Mark McDermott?
No.
Jill Vergara?
Yes.
Karen Wackerman?
No.
Carrie Burcham? Pamela Iacono?
Yes.
Christine Messina?
Yes.
Pete Tellman?
Yes.
Drew Georgiadis?
No.
Doreen Herron?
No.
Margaret Horton?
No.
Sam Cargill?
Yes.
Michael Hurley?
Yes.
Frank Batiste?
No.
Eric Sunman? Yes, 22 no.
So the motion fails 15 yes, 22 no. So the motion before us now is the amendments to the alarm ordinance with the First Amendment approved and the Second Amendment not approved. Is there any further discussion on this item? Representative Hurley.
Michael Hurley, RTM District 10. And looking closely at the ordinance in section 45-5, timing devices, Part A, it reads, except as otherwise provided by law, no alarm system which produces an exterior audible sound shall be installed unless its operation is automatically deactivated after no more than 15 minutes of operation. Again, it's 45-5, timing devices, section A. And through you, Moderator Pierce, to the town attorney, I believe it should be a that, not a which, since the clause is needed for the sentence to be correct.
I think
that is 45-5, section A.
Attorney Lesser, he's asked for your legal opinion on this grammatical issue.
It's more than grammatical. I mean, it's a big difference between a which and a that. So, I'm sorry, could you come to the podium? Just so I'm clear, in your professional opinion, that section of the ordinance is okay with a which as opposed to a that?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Further discussion on this item? Representative Gale?
Sorry, I feel like I need to clarify based on what Representative Hurley said. So I was not implying that crime as a general topic is on the rise in Fairfield. My concern, which maybe I made clear in committee and set a context and failed to do so tonight, my concern is specifically for schools and places of worship. And my concern is that what unfortunately is going on in our times is that there are disturbed individuals who are particularly targeting schools and places of worship. This is my concern, not the general rise in crime. And since the public schools are obviously not going to pay a fine, as was clarified for me by the assistant chief, my concern is, do we really want to require money from our churches and synagogues and the private schools in our town if they make a mistake and more than twice in a year someone sets off an alarm? I mean, I don't understand why I'm the only one who seems to be concerned about disincentivizing setting alarms on places of worship and schools. So I would actually like to propose an amendment, although that has been discouraged. And so could I please, through you, Mr. Moderator, ask one of the representatives of the police department why they would have a problem with accepting houses of worship and and schools in the town? Is that possible?
Deputy Chief Smith?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, and I understand completely where you're coming from. A couple issues come up. First of all, the whole point of the ordinance in general is to reduce our response to false alarms across the board for everybody. And I will say, and I know I mentioned it last week in committee, for houses of worship, I did run those numbers. There was only one time in the last year that one received a fine. So it's not like they are currently getting fined, all the time as it is. And regardless of the location, it is sort of on whatever organization to ensure that their employees, whether it be teachers, whether it be other people that have responsibility over the building, know how to work the alarm system properly. And you do get a couple times, you do get the two fails where you made a mistake. We come out and say this was a mistake, and then hopefully the process gets fixed or the problem of the alarm gets fixed. Because what we found over the years is without some sort of incentive to train the employees or to fix the problems, it doesn't get fixed and people don't get trained. And they just let it go on and on. And as far as the not-for-profits, the same thing of it becomes very difficult to define what's going to fall under the not-for-profit. And there could be a lot of those. And again, with the whole purpose from our standpoint to reduce our time spent on responding to the 90% or 95% of false alarms that we do annually, it's difficult to start carving out exceptions to that. And that's why we didn't recommend it, because one, we didn't see it as a problem. Churches are not getting fined all the time on a regular basis. And two, we still need to encourage proper use and proper maintenance of those systems, because it does take up a lot of law enforcement resources on a regular basis. And that's what we're trying to reduce and, if not eliminate, but at least reduce those false alarms.
Further discussion on this item, Representative Hurley.
Michael Hurley, RTM District 10. While I'm supportive of the ordinance, I do very strongly disagree with the town attorney's interpretation of that section as it relates to the which and the that and the clause, so I am going to abstain.
Further discussion, Representative Walk.
There we go. Thank you, Mr. Moderator, for calling me up. I'm Jay Walk. I'm a representative in District 5. God, I think I need a map to follow what's going on here. The reason, I'll get to it. It's like, what's going on here, I just can't believe. The reason for all this, first of all, this is a needed thing, a needed ordinance for our police department. For me, it's that the safety of our police officers. When they get an alarm, their adrenaline must start flowing to wonder where they're, to get there, to what must be happening. So, yes, I'm guilty of it. I have an alarm system in my home. I'm guilty of setting it off by accident. I mean, how many times do we get away with it that the officers have to run to our homes or to our synagogues or to our schools for false alarms? It's ridiculous. They have other things they need to be doing. So when we talk about the fines being $100 or $50 or $25 or whatever we're talking about, it's only a deterrent. So we stop doing this. It's over, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that it's over 90% of these false alarms. It's ridiculous. I mean, if it's 50% or 40%, maybe, But 90% of the times they're going to our homes because of false alarms, it's ridiculous. There's crazy people running through our towns that they could be doing more to protect us than to run to homes that people aren't. If your alarms are malfunctioning, then you get the alarm company to come, like I have, to fix whatever the problem is. So I'm definitely voting yes for the ordinance. Thank you.
Further discussion, Representative Dean.
Is it on? Representative Dean, District 3. To Representative Gale's concerns, I get that. I think that there's some real legitimacy there, and I respect her concern on that one. And to that point, is there a way that we could get a report from the police chief next year to find out how successful this is, if we do pass it through, to find out if we in fact put through good legislation and it was effective and it cut down on the number of false alarms that they had to go to, and make sure that we're doing our job.
We could certainly request that. Deputy Chief, can you come up and give us a sense of when it would be appropriate to come back to the RTM so that we could judge the efficacy of the ordinance change?
Sure. Yeah, every year, in fact, we're rolling out our annual report for 2018 soon, and it gives all the stats of our alarm responses, so you can see actually year to year how we're doing with false alarms. I would say that probably a year and a half or so out would be fair if we're not starting to institute it until July 1st of the next fiscal year. Yeah, I would say at least a year to be able to show what the, and it also going to take everybody's time to get used to it. So yes, we already have those figures, so it's not a problem at all to come back at whatever time the RTM wants us to provide that information to you. Okay.
Thank you, that's it.
Further discussion? Seeing none, any comment from the public? Seeing none, we'll come back to the RTM. All those in favor of the alarm ordinance amendments as amended by the first motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Representative Hurley, Representative Gale. The motion carries. Item 10, to consider and act upon amendments to the tax relief. Yes. Yes. I'll just take it now. We'll just do that. It's a good point of order. We'll move to the supplemental warning. To consider and act upon the following resolution recommended by the First Selectman. Resolved that a certain contract negotiated by and between the Town of Fairfield and the local union number 550, Connecticut Organization for Public Safety, concerning conditions of employment for the period ending June 30, 2022, be and hereby is amended in the manner described in the tentative agreement so as to make the contract effective through June 30th, 2022, and to incorporate certain other changes regarding wages, hours, and other matters. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Representative Iacono, seconded by Representative Wackerman. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, is there any comment from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. We'll return to item number 10. I don't know if Representative Parham, I think she recused herself and left the room. I don't know if anyone wants to get her. She's still here. Okay. We'll return to item number 10 to consider and act upon amendments to the tax relief for the elderly and disabled homeowners ordinance, section 95-7 to section 97-15.4 of Chapter 95, Article 3 of the Code of the Town of Fairfield, sponsored by the Senior and Disabled Tax Relief Committee, Cynthia Parham, District 2, Mark McDermott, District 7, Jill Vergara, District 7, Peter Tallman, District 8, and Michael Hurley, District 10. Is there a motion to discuss? Moved by Representative Vergara, seconded by Representative Wackerman. Is there any discussion on this item? Representative Vergara.
Jill Vergara, District 7. First, I'd like to reiterate some of the merits of the proposed revisions. For a cost of approximately $500,000, our proposed changes would increase benefits on average by $300 for each and every participant, nearly double the number of low-income participants receiving the maximum allowable under the law, extend benefits to seniors with incomes up to $90,000, capped at $1,100, to people who really need it, correct administrative deficiencies, simplify the program, and help make the program more transparent. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to make a motion to postpone action on this ordinance until February 25th, 2019, because it has not yet been considered by the Board of Finance, as is required by Connecticut State Statute 12-129N, and as recommended by the town attorney in his letter to the RTM's moderator dated January 25th, 2019.
So there's a motion before the body to postpone action on the proposed amendments to our next regular meeting on February 25th, 2019. Is there a second for the motion? Representative Georgiadis. Is there any discussion on the motion to postpone the item? Seeing none, is there any comment from the public? Seeing none, we'll come back to the body. Representative Hurley, you can't, once we go to the public, we can't come back unless there's comment from the public. I'm sorry, I waited. We'll come back to the body. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. The item will be postponed to our February 25th regular meeting. We'll come to item number 11, to consider and act upon any other matters presented to said meeting in which may be properly acted upon under the rules of the representative town meeting. Is there any discussion on this item? Representative Wackerman.
Karen Wackerman, District 7. I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Moderator, to approve a resolution, to add an item to the agenda, to approve a resolution establishing a tax deferral program for federal employees who have been affected by the federal shutdown. Even though the shutdown is over, they haven't been paid yet. And this can allow any federal employees in our town who are required to pay property taxes by February 1st. If they register with a tax collector, they can get a 60-day deferral, so they can catch up from not having a salary. So my motion is to add the item to the agenda.
Is everyone familiar with the resolution? Do I have to actually read it? Representative Iacono? I'll accept that. Is there a second for? All right, Representative Garskoff, I think I had his hand up first. Is there any discussion on this motion to add the resolution to establish a tax deferment program for certain federal employees to our agenda? Representative Iacono.
Just a question. Procedurally, are there any rules we need to suspend to add it?
I think the next motion's the motion to
Oh,
suspend
okay.
the rules.
So shouldn't we suspend first and then add?
So under Rule 33 only comes into play, RTM Rule to Regulate 33 only comes into play if we're going to act on a motion that's on our agenda.
Okay,
so we've got to
gotcha.
add this to our agenda first before we suspend the rule to act on it.
Thank you for the clarification.
Any other discussion on the motion to add this to our agenda? Seeing none, is there any comment from the public? Does the tax collector want to weigh in on this item? No. We'll come back to the body. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? No. Well, we still have to act upon it, so you can still address the body. So now the item is on our agenda and before the body for discussion. Representative Wackerman, you still have the floor.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to suspend Rule 33 of the RTM Rules to Regulate so that we can vote on this resolution.
Okay, so we can vote on it this evening?
Yes.
Okay. There's a motion to suspend Rule 33 so we can take action on the resolution this evening. Is there a second? Representative Iacono. Is there any discussion on this motion to suspend the Rule 33 so we can act on this motion tonight? Seeing none, is there any comment from the public? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. So now the motion is before us. We've suspended Rule 33. So we can now act on this tonight. Is there any discussion on acting on this tonight, on the actual action item before us, perhaps from the tax collector, or sorry, from the RTM members first? Is there any further discussion from the RTM? Is there any comment from the public?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dave Klazuski, tax collector. I just want to brief everyone on the situation that you're most likely all aware of. I have been working with the First Selectman, the RTM, also several of my colleagues, tax collectors around the state of Connecticut, and I just want to let everyone know that there are 15,000 federal employees statewide. To the best of my knowledge, it's hard for me to gauge the exact impact to the town of Fairfield in terms of the tax records I have available to me. I don't even have phone numbers. It doesn't specify if you're a federal employee, but what I have had, I've had one individual call me, in the past 2 weeks before and after we've known the decision on this legislation. So, to my knowledge, I have one individual in town, but I think that this is in the best interest of the town because, we don't know the exact impact, but it does provide, it provides aid to employees, federal employees that we may not be aware of, and if passed, we will, I will do to the best of my ability to get out a press release notification to the town that this is passed, that, you know, they can provide, they can get aid, they can get a deferment of their taxes. The way it would work is I've put together a form that they would have to sign. It would prove, they would have to provide basic proof that proves that they're, one, a resident in town, or you know, a member, a resident of the state of Connecticut. They'd also prove that they're a federal employee by showing their federal employee badge and whatnot. And then they would also sign an affidavit that would prove that, or that you know, a statement that they are a federal employee. And the tricky part is, yes, the federal shutdown has ended, but as others have stated, they have not been paid yet. To our knowledge, they have not been paid yet. So the way I see it is, they can show proof, they can show a bank statement showing that they have not been paid, and then the legislation does say that they're required, or that we can require, that within 30 days they recertify. So we could say that, you know, within 30 days, show that bank statement again showing that you have not been paid yet. Because once they are paid, their eligibility would end, and then they would have 60 days to pay from that point. And again, I've heard from one resident, it could be more, but I just wanted to assure everyone that the revenue impact would be minimal. You know, to my knowledge, there would not be a lot of individuals in town, and so I just wanted to make, you know, I want to make sure everyone aware that the revenue impact would be minimal, and at the end of the day, we are going to, you know, provide aid to those federal employees in need. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion from anyone else from the public? Seeing none, we'll come back to the RTM. Any further discussion from our members? Seeing none, we'll do a voice vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. We're still on item number 11. Any other items to consider and act upon that are presented to said meeting, which may be properly acted upon under the rules of the representative town meeting? Is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Representative Dean, seconded by Representative Pastilli. We will adjourn.
Could we just talk to you?
Is it about that witch?
No, it's not.
I've taken it. Oh, they passed it out. Oh, I thought like